Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
Alright, y'all. In the last chapter, Kawaki and Boruto formed one of the most diabolical duos of all time. And in this video right here, we're here to talk about it. Now, first things first, we have to say this. This is, and you guys pretty much seen it by the title, this is arguably the strongest shinobi duo of all time. Now, a lot of the boomers out there, you guys are going to say, hey, Hamura and Hagoromo. Bruh, all I'm going to tell you guys, current day Boruto and Kawaki, they're sitting in the back to the tapioca table. In my personal opinion, this right here, if it's not currently right now, eventually 1000% it's definitely going to become the strongest shinobi duo of all time. In my personal opinion, it's just a matter of time. Now, one of the things that we did see already in the last chapter is that these two are essentially going to be getting stronger. I'm pretty sure you guys seen in the last chapter, Boruto pretty much said it. Kawaki has limits to pretty much unlock, and in this particular video, I'm here to tell you guys right now, 9 times out of 10, Boruto is likely to get stronger as well. But regardless off of that, I do want to talk about the common sense stuff, some of the things that most of the people pretty much already understand. Boruto's collaboration with the Hidden Leaf Village is going to get a lot heavier after this particular point, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very entertaining time for a lot of us. One of the things that we've all wanted to see is, of course, Boruto's relationship grow with a lot of the other characters inside the Hidden Leaf Village. We talk about Sarada, of course. One of the big ones is probably going to be him and Wadi, and Boruto's relationship eventually growing and, of course, festering. In my personal opinion, hypothetically, if Boruto can actually go to and fro the Hidden Leaf Village, and of course the Hokage is okay with it, and the strongest active person, and of course Damon and Ada there aren't really active for the Hidden Leaf Village as of right now, but Kawaki, if Kawaki and Shikamaru are okay with Boruto going to and fro the Hidden Leaf Village, Boruto is going to be in the Hidden Leaf Village a lot more, and of course those relationships that Boruto is going to build in the Hidden Leaf Village is going to be extremely entertaining, but also extremely helpful to the actual plot. And of course him and Wadi is probably going to be in the forefront of that, in my personal opinion. Now, I have a prediction, and some of you guys probably predicted this as well, so this right here isn't necessarily like any grandiose predictions, but I definitely do think that we're probably going to get to see at least some sort of resonance again from the actual Karma Seal, and of course some sort of updates from the Karma Seal. Again, one of the things that Boruto and Kawaki has in common, we understand, is the Karma Seal, and the Karma Seal, in my personal opinion, is probably going to have an extremely huge impact on the overall plot of Boruto. So of course those two coming together, and of course them recently talking about it in the last chapter, 9 times out of 10 the plot point is probably going to come up, and of course I think in some sort of jam. It might not be against Cold, because let's be honest, Cold is coming. I do want to talk about him a little bit later. Give me a couple seconds, but yeah, it might not be Cold. It might not be just a random Shinju. It might not even be in this particular arc. But if they are working together, if they are doing anything together, and of course something pops up, they have to fight against another character. Maybe it is Jura. They're going to have to eventually utilize the Karma Seal to beat that foe, and of course the Karma Seals will resonate. And again, will Momoshiki pop out at that particular point? That's something that we're probably going to find out at that particular point. I am a little bit suspicious just because of the fact that Kashin Koji is essentially like telling Boruto like possibilities of Momoshiki popping out, like, so it's not necessarily like just a wonder, like, hey, we don't know, maybe he will, maybe he won't. It's kind of like that, but Kashin Koji actually did see the future where Momoshiki utilized that resonance for his awakening. I guess you could say that. But in my personal opinion, I think that's something that we're definitely going to see in the near future. Not only that, Kashin Koji as well, we just talked about him. Is he going to be coming to the Hidden Leaf Village? Kashin Koji in the Hidden Leaf Village, it'd be great for multiple different reasons, let's be honest. I think Kashin Koji in the Hidden Leaf Village would go crazy for plot purposes, but also entertainment value. Let's be honest, my guy is essentially Jiraiya. If you guys have a second Jiraiya in the Hidden Leaf Village, that's not necessarily, again, now don't get me wrong, he won't necessarily be as entertaining, because Kashin Koji is like a super serious individual. He's literally deemed an assassin, but I just believe like he'd be so helpful, and also the entertainment value would be there. Imagine seeing scenes with Kashin Koji and Orochimaru, like a serious Jiraiya and Orochimaru, like, oh my goodness. Imagine if Naruto ever gets unsealed and we get a Kashin Koji and Naruto scene, that'd be impeccable. But the most important thing is going to be Kashin Koji's functionality. He has the actual ability to see all different futures, and of course this right here is going to be extremely helpful to not only the Hidden Leaf Village, and of course, you know, the safety and the protection of the Hidden Leaf Village, yada yada yada, because of course Shikamaru will probably meet him as well. But this is going to be important for power-ups. Like we talked about this all throughout the first part of Boruto. How are these side characters going to get strong? How are these side characters actually going to be able to compete with some of the characters like Boruto, some of the characters like now that we know the villains like Jura, some of the villains like Hidari, now some of the villains like Shinki, my guy Ryu. So the answer could just be Kashin Koji. One of the reasons why Boruto is as strong as he is because he did go through the training with Kashin Koji. Kashin Koji looked at all the future possibilities and all the future abilities that Boruto did actually learn and then taught it to him right then and there. And I personally believe that he could actually do that to a lot of the characters inside the Hidden Leaf Village if hypothetically Kashin Koji and Boruto are on a better footing with the Hidden Leaf Village. It might not be out in the open, but hypothetically if Kashin Koji now has access to the Hidden Leaf Village and access to the Hokage, I mean, he could be extremely helpful to training some of the elites of the Hidden Leaf Village, and of course that in itself just bolstered the defenses of the Hidden Leaf Village. But one of the questions I did have immediately after this unit was formed was, how long will this thing actually last? Now supposedly this is what they say, it's supposed to last until the Otsutsuki members are essentially eradicated. Now I'm gonna keep it a stack, I don't think that's the case. I don't think Kawaki is ever going to be successful in actually eradicating the Otsutsuki members, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be like a thing where he like actually tries and actually fails to do so. I think his actual goals might actually shift throughout his actual mission in trying to actually kill the Otsutsuki clan, and this comes from essentially the last scene. And of course I might dive a little bit deeper into this, and of course this is like a development theory that I have been playing with it. And of course I do want to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. But in the first scene of Boruto, my guy literally doesn't mention Otsutsuki members at all. Again, I do have to say I didn't necessarily rewatch the anime version, I just did reread the manga version. But in this particular situation right here, Boruto and Kawaki, they're talking, and all he really says is the age of shinobi is over. I mean, he just says nothing about an Otsutsuki member. Now, again, I do have to point out, they don't necessarily, show us the whole entire dialogue with Boruto and Kawaki here. And of course, they don't necessarily show us the whole entire backstory. And of course, they could just be keeping it out as a surprise for the Boruto audience. But I don't necessarily know if that's the case too much. So in fairness, you do have to take it with a grain of salt. But one of the things that I was actually thinking about is, one of the things that Kawaki is actually, looking for is a protection of Naruto. And it wouldn't necessarily be beyond the pale if we start to realize that, hey, the protection of Naruto isn't just because of the Otsutsuki clan. I mean, of course, shinobis themselves, as of right now, they aren't necessarily too crazy or anything like that. But, like, let's say hypothetically, Kashin Koji in the future, he sees possibilities of, like, Hidden Leaf members killing Naruto, like, after the Shinjus are all dead and gone. Like, I don't think it's beyond the pale of possibilities for Kawaki to essentially like try to like end the shinobis, and that right there is essentially why the unity of Boruto and Kawaki actually do end. Now, of course, I do want to point this out, that it wouldn't necessarily just be that possibility alone. Hey, Kashin Koji tells him, hey, there's a possibility that a shinobi kills Naruto. I think it's just the idea that the shinobis in itself can never necessarily be peaceful, an idea that Boruto started to grasp at the end of part 1 anime. Now, some of you guys are gonna be like, hey, Bar, what you talking about at the beginning of Boruto was age of peace beyond all the shinobis, the yada yada yada. To be honest, it wasn't necessarily that. Now, I will say, among the 5 great nations, it definitely was that. But among the other nations, it wasn't necessarily that. Like, there were still rogue ninjas there. There were still rogue villages out there. There were still places in chaos. We even seen that at the beginning of the Kata actuation arc when Sasuke and Sai went to go investigate. And of course, we had that whole arc about the Hashirama cells. Don't want to rehash that. But regardless, in my personal opinion, this could be, a realization that Kawaki has, that the shinobi experience in itself is a failure, and that's why he essentially wants to end the Hidden Leaf Village. And of course, you do have to point this out, Naruto isn't necessarily unsealed in that first scene that I was talking about, which is kind of interesting. So like, I do want to see, specifically when that scene happens, and of course in what context of the plot are we in. Like, are we in the middle part of Boruto TBV? Are we towards the end of TBV and Naruto still isn't sealed? I just want to see my guy Kashin Koji and Naruto have that meeting. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. It's me, your boy Bar B, and we out.
It's a knife.